This is a rustic barn, and this motif comes either like this or with trees in here or a kind of Christmas barn with a Christmas tree. It's basically the same exact barn, just with the seasons in mind. So this one does not have the trees. You're welcome to draw them in with a pencil prior to painting. So I'm just going to start with the roof of my barn here. I've got my tropical set. So if you need to mix a kind of a grayish color, you can get that hibiscus and ocean, and you can take your little strip that you have in your take and paint that looks like this and test out your gray. And I'm going to add a little bit of brown into that. And I'm going to just kind of come along here to the top of this barn, and I'm going to lay in sort of this first layer here. And you can do all kinds of fun things. If you want to have a red barn or a white barn with stark black, that could be really pretty too. So I'm coming along here and putting in these lines. I'm going to let them dry like that so that they'll have a little bit of a shape where the minerals will pull at that edge. And now I'm going to come along the bottom here and just fill that in. I do have a black in my box that I suggest you get like an extra, or I've said in a couple other videos, you can get a tube of black watercolor paint like at Michael's or something, and you can squeeze it into here. It'll dry, and you can just re-wet it to use whenever. I've done that before with like pinks or things that I think I might use on a regular basis, but it didn't come in my original set, and I don't have the little square for it. So I'm going to come in here and kind of paint this. We can't see inside this barn exactly. And the same thing's true in this as well. Might kind of add a little bit of a brownish tint to that. And then we want to come in here and kind of add a little bit more water and take like this hibiscus and a little bit of brown to kind of get that rusty color and be kind of mindful just to tap that into some of the wet areas here. And I do have a little bit of green in my original. It's kind of maybe mossy. I'll probably go back over that with a little bit of brown or gray because this is very patchy. But now I'm going to take some of this rusty color. This is already dried a little bit, so it's not really a wet on wet. So we'll kind of get some of that in the background. And then we can pop in a little more of that gray over top of that. Maybe you want to reserve some green for the roof a little bit if you're going to choose to use that kind of palette. And you can choose how rustic you want to make your barn. I can come in here and apply this and imagining the board's going to go up and down here. Take a little bit of gray while that's still wet and pop that in here. Leave a little white of the paper. This is still wet, so It's got some deposited areas, but then take our color, our rust color, and kind of deposit that there. We do want to put a little bit of that kind of gray, brown in here again, and just sort of deposit so that will leave a texture. All right, now I'm going to come in here and work on my barn doors. And I think I'll kind of add that as it's been a while since I've done this motif, so as per usual, I kind of have to remember as I go along. Oh, wow. Starting to overwork the paper there, so I want to just relax and chill on that for a little bit. And you can either go back in with a pen, or you can just dance your brush along some of these lines here. If you've got some black and you want to highlight those shingles there. All right, now I will make that darker again. That's kind of absorbed and dried into the paper. And I think I'll do kind of a black X here on those two boards. Like I said, you can make your barn whatever color you want. So now we'll move on to the ground here, this foreground. I'm going to use my medium brush, but you can use the one that I just had as well. And I think because this is so brown, I'm probably the barn, I'm going to use kind of this more huntery green. I don't know how that's going to turn out. Grassy green. All right, well, let's just see. I'm going to now tap my brush in here just to kind of give the impression of some grasses. You can really see how I do the grasses too in the barn with flowers motif. Kind of shows you how to do the exact same thing on a barn. And the rustic cabin also has very similar techniques that you may want to check out, so you can get a little more information to inform you if you want to do something a little different than this motif right here. So I'm just tapping in this green because I want them to deposit around that shape. Now that's a whole different color of green. So I'll have to kind of disperse this around my drawing or my painting so that it's on both sides. And now I'm going to just kind of wash this with a wet on wet, less texture. And maybe I'll take a little bit of this kind of brown. I don't really want it to be black, so this green here. And it's almost black all over again. I'll use my small brush now. See how it's coming together here. And kind of fill in some of the white. And you can always go and find these lines here and kind of paint them so they don't look like a background pencil. It's okay if it does, but just letting you know, you can do that. And I'll smooth out that area there. So you can keep working on it and do the texture you want. And now that this is kind of dry, I can take a clear brush and sort of gently wipe across there, and it turns from just being white of the paper into more of a light green, but leaves those pretty definition mineral deposits there. And so I'm going to go ahead and do my sky right now, get that medium brush out again. I've got tons of green in it, so I'm cleaning that off. And I'm going to go around, that's why we did the roof first. I'm going to go around here with thin water, and I'll show you so you can kind of see. I'll put the blue in it, which is helpful if you want to do that too. Just add a little bit of your blue from your sky, and then the only problem with that is if they dry and the blue isn't where you want it to be. And I'm going left to right, just like the horizon. Let's go vertical here, but then I want to really redefine these strokes as going horizontal. And then if you want it to have more defined clouds, you can even kind of deposit some paint and kind of move it around into a cloud formation. Clean my brush off and kind of do something like that. It's not, well, really would like that to be more straight. And pull that up off that line. You can see you get more of a cloud look, and you can also kind of squeeze water into an area and it'll start to disperse and bloom. So that's how you can do the sky. And my barn is looking pretty darn rustic, so let me make sure here I've got enough texture to match the side. And not sure what to do with those. Close them in, and then you can still kind of, got it so wet initially, it just didn't take these lines in here very well. Really want to put like a nice shadow along some of these areas. I don't know why my shadow's green, but it is. And I'll just kind of add a little bit of that green in here. There you have your rustic barn.